The air in London was crisp and bitten with a hint of winter's edge as Alistair Grimshaw sat in his study surrounded by fading tomes and the comforting, musty aroma of old paper. A single letter lay open on the desk, its contents puzzling yet undeniably intriguing. Postmarked from Thornfield Manor, the letter seemed haunted by the night of Edgar Thornfield's untimely death. _secrets lie beneath shadows not cast, it read, inscribed with an elegant yet hasty script. Alistair leaned back, the leather of his chair creaking softly. The death of Edgar Thornfield, whispered about in corridors and parlours alike, had captured public attention due to its mystery. Still, the detective remained distant, until now. The hints at secrets within the manor were a siren's call to Alistair's inquisitive nature. He felt an unmistakable draw, a beckoning to uncover the truth hidden beneath layers of family intrigue and half-told tales. The letter felt cold in his hand, and as he reread it, a thin thread of determination tightened within him. It was time to leave the safety of familiarity for the enigmatic allure of Thornfield Manor. Despite the comfort of the fire burning in the grate, Alistair felt a chill. He flicked the letter briskly, watching as the shadows cast by the flames danced across it. "There's foul play afoot," he murmured to himself, his voice a soft echo in the cavernous room. Purpose settled into his bones. He was going to Thornfield Manor to unravel its secrets and answer the questions Edgar's obscure demise posed. Alistair's decision, like so many in his career, was less a choice and more a compulsion. Intrigue was his constant companion, and the puzzle posed by Thornfield Manor was too tantalizing to resist. As dawn broke, with a sky simmering between pinks and blues, he gathered his coat and hat, packing lightly, a testament to a journey he expected to be brief, but it was the unknown that held sway over predictions. With one last glance at the flickering hearth and a farewell to his tabby cat, who eyed him with disinterest, Alistair swept out, the door closing with a resolute thud. The journey ahead promised uncertainty and revelation in equal measure, one Edgar himself might approve of from whatever spectral observation post he occupied. Upon the platform, the steam of the early train billowed around Alistair, lending a ghostly veil to the start of this quest. The lingering allure of Thornfield Manor cast its shadow over him, a promise of the answers it might conceal amid its ancient stones. With a last look at the letter, now tucked securely in his inner pocket, Alistair boarded the train. The rhythmic clatter of wheels on tracks a lullaby to a curious mind. So began his path to uncover the truth within Thornfield Manor's walls, where the dead may indeed speak, if only one has the ears to listen. The train rattled to a halt at a forgotten station, swallowed almost entirely by the encroaching mist that seemed intent on smudging the world into obscurity. Wrapped in this thick fog, Thornfield Manor loomed distantly, a silhouette against the pale morning sky, like the ghost of a great house long past its summer days. Alistair stepped onto the gravel path leading to the manor. Each step crunched quietly beneath his boots, absorbed into the dense silence that lay heavy as wool over the grounds. The air was wet with a chill that clung to his skin, smelling of damp earth and the distant promise of rain. At the main entrance, a woman stood, an enduring statue formed by resolve and mystery. She introduced herself as Eliza Blackwood, her voice a melody of genteel upbringing and unyielding will. "Mr. Grimshaw," she greeted. Her eyes, a shade of emerald cold enough to match the landscape, assessed him with a curiosity barely veiled by her polite smile. "Miss Blackwood," Alistair acknowledged, offering a bow slightly more exaggerated than called for. "It's a pleasure, albeit under somber circumstances. One must manage as they find, Detective," Eliza replied, her eyes locked on his with a flicker of something unreadable. "I understand you wish to review the circumstances of Mr. Thornfield's passing." "Indeed." Alistair glanced around, noting how the fog clung to the manor's sharp angles and softened its harsh facade. I trust I have your cooperation. To an extent, she countered, turning sharply. Follow me, please. Within the manor, shadows seemed to cling to the gilded moldings and antique furniture. The air was thick with the scent of aging wood and smoke, each room echoing with the quiet reminders of its former master. Passing through the hallway, Alistair noted cryptic symbols faintly etched into the walls, perplexing engravings that seemed recent and deliberate. Eliza led him to Edgar's office, a room heavy with muted colors, its atmosphere weighed down by secrets. Here, papers were scattered chaotically across the desk, and the air was tinged with the sour note of ink. Edgar might have been working on something important, Eliza mentioned, her voice tapering with a hint of exasperation. But I'm afraid the details are as elusive to me as the reasons behind his demise. Her vagueness only emphasized the oddness of the room. Opening a cupboard, Alistair uncovered a hidden passage, its entrance cleverly disguised within the cabal of shadows. Seems your Mr. Thornfield enjoyed more than just a penchant for secrets, Alistair remarked. Indeed, Eliza murmured, her tone layered with an edge of foreboding. As they lingered in the office, a clock somewhere chimed the hour, each toll resonating like a judge's gavel. Alistair felt an odd shiver, recognizing that Thornfield Manor held tales yet to be told, stories encrypted within every creak of its aged floors. Night at Thornfield Manor was alive with peculiar sounds, the distant moan of the wind through the eaves, the murmur from somewhere unseen, like whispers in a forgotten language. Alistair sat in Edgar's study, a candle flickering beside him, casting long shadows that danced mockingly on the walls. In his hands was Edgar's journal, discovered tucked between volumes of historical legal precedents. Bound in worn leather, it emitted the musty scent of neglected knowledge. Alistair turned another page, his brow furrowed as he deciphered the scribbled notes, each line holding kernels of scandal and secretive dealings. A particular entry caught his attention, detailing a supposed gathering of the select, which hinted at dangers Edgar had foreseen but never fully understood. Beneath the coded language of the journal lay a narrative tangled with threats and heartaches, leading inexorably to his final entries, mysterious and abrupt. A soft rustle broke Alistair's concentration. He glanced up, catching a shadow slipping silently past the doorway. Miss Blackwood, he called, half rising from his chair. Eliza's figure appeared, paused momentarily in the threshold like a spectre lingering on the brink of solid form. Her eyes met his, conflicted. Reading Edgar's thoughts, she queried, her voice carrying a strange mix of amusement and sorrow. You may find more lies than truths. Alistair studied her, the dim candlelight painting her face with a brush of mystery. Perhaps lie and truth are just two sides of the same coin, he replied thoughtfully. One presumes your familiarity with what Edgar left behind. His implication hung heavily between them. She hesitated, a flicker of tension crossing her features before she nodded toward the journal. He was troubled, that much is clear. But Edgar did seek more than death's cliché. He sought resolution for himself, for the manor. Alistair noticed her reluctance, a coiled spring beneath polite banalities. This manor holds more than the eye can see. I can't help but feel. Your activities, these endless notes and codes, intertwine with the tale Edgar weaves in his journal. Eliza's lips tightened. Detect rivers where lakes waver, she murmured, offering nothing but ambiguity. The conversation lingered, she with her secrets and Alistair with the mounting sense of his own past, eerily mirrored, his own fears and mistakes whispering back at him from within these walls. Alistair turned back to the journal, tension coiled like a serpent within him. Outside, the wind rose again, a lonesome howl against the resolute walls of Thornfield Manor. Inside, Alistair felt the press of time urging him forward, the journal his guide, Eliza his enigmatic obstacle, or perhaps, ally. The Grey Room, as it was succinctly named in Edgar's cryptic entries, beckoned to Alistair like a forbidden myth. Its door, half hidden behind a poorly concealed tapestry, stood ajar as if waiting for him. The manor itself seemed more alive now, every creak of the floorboards resonated like a whisper egging him on, urging him to decipher the cipher, unlock the enigma before it slipped through his fingers. Alistair had spent hours poring over Edgar's codes, syllables turned into numbers, numbers into patterns, patterns revealing places. The journal was less a tome of wisdom and more an intricate map drawn from paranoia and foresight. The door groaned in protest as Alistair pushed it open, revealing shelves lined with books whose spines bore no titles, and one ornate desk that seemed absurdly untouched by dust. The air within was heavy, carrying the rich and spicy scent of old tomes and the faint metallic tang of secrets long hidden. Barely audible footsteps interrupted Alistair's exploration. Eliza's presence was heralded by a rustle of fabrics, and she appeared at the threshold, her expression a mix of curiosity and wariness. A room kept hidden away, Alistair said, almost to himself, running a hand across the closest book, but not for lack of use. Eliza's smile was thin, cautious. The Grey Room was Edgar's sanctuary, his mind unburdened by the prying eyes of propriety. And your presence here, is it habit or coincidence? Her gaze narrowed, defensive under the guise of indifference. Call it invested interest, much like yourself, Mr. Grimshaw. Before he could respond, something caught Alistair's eye, an envelope peeking from a desk drawer. With careful hands, he extracted it, revealing a hidden document that promised much and revealed little at first glance. It was a draft, detailing what seemed to be Edgar's plans for the manor's legacy, interwoven with financial strategies that spoke of not just preservation, but expansion. The cipher, Alistair murmured, realization dawning. It indicated a hidden chamber, yet it is your connections that flesh out threats of deception. Eliza's expression faltered briefly, a shift from that icy demeanor to something more raw and human. She approached, assessment in her gaze. Edgar hoped for a future forged from the past. Is that so wrong? Her proximity fueled an air of unspoken tension, an unyielding standoff framed by decades of the Thornfield legacy, bound to history's decisions both wise and dire. Yet, in this room, the walls seemed to demand understanding, a resolution to the entangled mystery Alistair found himself deep within. With the journal's words ever echoing in his mind, victory in deciphering its codes felt hollow without unraveling the maze of emotions and alliances that lay beneath the manor's surface. Determined, Alistair vowed to unearth truths, even above the sway of those like Eliza Blackwood, whose involvement was as intensive as it was inscrutable. The secret chamber lay behind the walls of the library, accessed through another one of Edgar's ingenious designs, a hidden mechanism disguised as a simple wall sconce. A twist would open a door into darkness. Alistair stood at its entrance, the weight of discovery a shadow heavier than the Salem sun. The chamber contained its fair share of secrets, but none so damning as the cache of documents Alistair unearthed. Each yellowed page was a piece of the puzzle, filling gaps in the narrative Edgar left like crumbs across a forest path. Among the documents, Alistair discovered a contract, its ink still fresh despite its hiding place. The words outlined plans for leveraging the Thornfield estate, ensuring its continued wealth and influence by dubious means, a manipulation of wealth disguised as business acumen. The door creaked, and without needing to look, Alistair knew Eliza stood there, the chamber's guardian now revealed. I'm not surprised, Alistair said without turning. You've known about this for some time, I take it. I protect what is necessary, Eliza answered, her voice still carrying that edge of authority, though there was a tremble beneath it now. You must understand, Edgar's death was unforeseen, but not necessarily unplanned in the grander scheme. What grand plan forces protection at any cost? Eliza stepped forward, the tapping of her shoes echoing in the confined space as she moved next to Alistair. Her hand brushed against one of the documents gingerly, its touch summoning ghosts of intentions past and broken promises. "Thornfield has always had its allies and enemies, Detective," she said, her voice softer yet weighed down by every word. "Not every inheritance is a gift, sometimes it's a responsibility, a burden. I had to ensure that when Edgar didn't fall prey to those less scrupulous than yourself." Her gaze snapped to his, fire sparking in her eyes. "You understand so little of what's at stake. This is not just about wealth, Mr. Grimshaw, it is about survival, a legacy that—" "Legacy," Alistair interrupted, "is not buried with deceit, Miss Blackwood. The truth is a far longer-lasting edifice than any gold or name." In the charged silence between them, a realization dawned. While the estate plan offered wealth, it also tied Eliza to Edgar's demise, not by direct hand, but a thread thinly weaving guilt and regret. "Confront the world with truth," Alistair urged quietly, still locked in her stare. "There's redemption stronger than any hidden document." Outside, the weathered manor seemed to sigh, as if the secrets uttered within its heart sought release. Eventually, Eliza nodded, her demeanor revealing the vulnerability she so carefully concealed. Together, they carried the weight of Thornfield's legacy back to the surface, every footstep a pact towards unraveling the tangled truths both sought to protect and destroy. In the manor's drawing room, subdued by the fire's glow, Alistair and Eliza faced each other like pawns in a game that neither had completely envisioned nor controlled. The crackle of flames filled the pauses in their conversation, the smell of smoke mingling with tension thick enough to taste. "Edgar never desired any of this," Eliza admitted, her voice quiet yet firm. "He wanted something more. More pure." Alistair nodded, slowly pacing the worn carpet beneath his feet, a pattern that crisscrossed like the complexities of human nature. "Purity is often marred by the lives we lead," he replied, his voice holding a shadow of self-reflection, memories of his own decisions weighing heavy. Taking a deep breath, he turned to face her. "Your history with Edgar, it drove your actions." Eliza glanced at the portrait above the mantel, Edgar's face looking back with eyes that seemed to search her soul even now. "Once, many years ago, Edgar saved me from decisions that could have ended more than just my reputation. I owed him the world?" Alistair could see the sincerity in her words, feel the pulse of shared history that, despite its troubles, bound them. A realization hit him, perhaps he saw an echo of himself in her, a reflection of how paths diverge and converge over choices made in shadows. "And now?" he asked with a soft exhalation. "Now," she said, steel re-entering her spine, "we finish this, for him, for Thornfield. Edgar deserves clarity as much as anyone. And perhaps," she added, a hint of vulnerability seeping into her tone, "it will offer both of us resolution." They stood in silence, the weight of unspoken words like a third presence in the room. Somewhere, in the quiet space between admission and acknowledgement, an implicit understanding formed, a fragile alliance meant to uncover the truth and honor Edgar's final wishes. Alistair pulled himself from the hearth's warmth and nodded, the decision agreed in silent accord. "Then let us find where deceit ends." As they began to piece together the final parts of Edgar's mystery, the glow of the flames seemed to reach out as if to bless their pursuit. In those moments, Alistair felt the reassurance of second chances, the echoes of his own misjudgments finding solace in the clarity of purpose they now shared. Here, in this room, perhaps they could rectify the past's mistakes and, in the process, forge a future free of the chains of old ghosts. The morning was a pale whisper as the mists that had clung to Thornfield Manor for so long began to dissipate, unveiling secrets long obscured by shadows. In the Manor's vast study, the culmination of their efforts lay before Alistair and Eliza, an intricate web of letters, documents, and personal confessions bringing light to Edgar's true legacy. Together, they had uncovered the final piece, a letter hidden within the secret chamber's alcove, penned by Edgar himself. It revealed a scandal that both damned the Thornfield name and then resurrected it, a testament to corruption, deceit, and ultimately, redemption. The study's atmosphere was one of resolution as Eliza recounted the events with clarity and poise born of relief and admission. Edgar wanted to repay the debts owed by ensuring no further harm came to Thornfield, she explained. His means might have been questionable to some, but his ends, they were for the greater good. Alistair nodded, his mind sorting through the final pieces of this puzzle, whose answers had seemed so elusive. And with this knowledge, he began, we can alter Thornfield's fate, not weighted by past misdeeds, but enlightened by truths revealed. Eliza smiled, a bittersweet curve of her lips. Perhaps now the ghosts that have haunted these halls can find their peace as well. With the sun breaking through the window, washing the manor in a golden hue not seen in years, Alistair felt a stirring of accomplishment and a quietude of spirit that had seemed unreachable in his own life until now. The outcome here had mirrored his search for personal redemption, a reflection that eased the burdens he carried. As if sensing the moment, Eliza extended her hand. To new beginnings, she offered, the alliance once fraught now firm. To truths unearthed, Alistair agreed, shaking her hand. His gaze drifted towards the window, where Thornfield Manor stood resplendent, its tales now as clear as the new dawn. As preparations were made for Alistair's departure, the manor seemed to stand tall, devoid of its shadowed enveloping fog. Each room embraced the clarity wrought by their revelations as Alistair took one last look, letting the echo of his footsteps be the final tribute to the home he had grown to understand. The train back to London awaited him at the station, its steam blending with the last of the lingering mists, promising a journey graced with insights gained, not just about Thornfield but about one's capacity for forgiveness, understanding, and enduring legacies left behind. As Alistair boarded, he turned back for a final glimpse of Thornfield Manor, its silhouette now a monument not to secrets, but to the light shone upon them, a sight that etched itself into his memories as an emblem of change and peace long sought.